David Carr shares his expectations for the Saints' new look offense in 2024. Ladies and gentlemen, you heard me correctly. No, not Derek Carr. David Carr, the older brother, the former first overall pick, the former Fresno State, former Houston Texans quarterback, David Carr. Look at that hairline. David, very impressive. Also the traps. Ladies and gentlemen, I mean, again, if you haven't figured it out, it's never wrong to be strong.
I got to say, like, you know, I think Derek's got some more time to continue to improve on some of those numbers. But, I mean, with that kind of awareness, he might be coming for your seat here when he finishes up.
You guys, if you guys knew the amount of heat that I got after that based on our graphics department, and they're just putting out.
By the way, nobody loves Derek Carr more than David Carr. I'll give him that. He might be the greatest big brother of all time. David Carr is known, and the other Carr, I believe Darren Carr, are known to go to war on Twitter and in studios for their brother. So shout out to the Carrs. They are not afraid. I mean, you know, Lightning McQueen and whoever else, but they are not afraid to back up Derek. So I'm guessing we're about to get 4 minutes of David absolutely glazing Derek Carr.
Facts. I'm like, we can improve these things. You're still playing, right? You guys got a season coming up. Let's change the narrative. That's what you got to do, man. So that's what I'm hoping they do. Right? It's going to be an exciting time. They got a lot of good football players out there. The system that we talked about in that interview is a lot of fun to watch. The cool part is, like, I was at training camp last year, and there was a lot of hype around this team, and Derek was excited. And it really was something that was kind of like cutting teeth, because you saw kind of glimpses of really the only run game they had last year was Taysom Hill running the football from the quarterback position.
True. Yeah, 100%. We did not have a running back go over 80 yards in a game at any point last season, which is unbelievable to even think about.
And I was like, man, if we're going to be anywhere, guys, if you guys are going to be able to figure this thing out, you're going to have to develop something. And then so you insert Clint Kubiak, you insert this system that I'm sitting here watching the 49ers run that is kind of permeated the entire league. And that's what I noticed when I was down there in Irvine the other day, and kind of what I've seen through OTAs is the run game and the play action pass game and the gash plays and some of the just open receivers out on the perimeter.
The thing about how different that is, you know what he's talking about. He's talking about running the football with his wide zone run scheme. He's talking about play action. He's talking about, you know, yards after the catch. All of that we didn't do last year. We couldn't run the ball at all. We did not get yak at all. Like, it's going to be, whether it is truly successful or not, and you know, the different definitions for what is successful. Some people it'll be better than last year. Some people's success is 10 wins. Some is a playoff berth. Some is a division championship. Some is all the way to the Super Bowl. But however you define success, fine. But this offense will look totally different. There is absolutely no question about that. It's just a completely different scheme. It's a completely different idea. It's a completely different strategy. I mean, very rarely. I mean, I keep talking about how the Saints are one of the teams who are very unique because they have done the same thing for 15 years. Not only are we going to see a new thing for the first time in 15 years, this could not be any more different than what the Saints were trying to do for the last couple of years. I mean, I really think fans will be shocked when they see the Saints, when they see them play Carolina in week 1. If this offense looks how I think it'll look, I think people will be shocked. Just watching the pre-snap motion and watching the creativity and watching the run game and how they're running and how they're seeing Alvin Kamara attack and the yak that some of these receivers like Rashid Shaheed and Chris Olave are going to be getting. I mean, I think it's just going to be completely shocking, a shock to the system for fans who aren't true, because a lot of people, you know, they've reached out to me and they've said, how is it going to be different? Like, what's going to be different? So if you're not aware of those changes, I mean, I talked about it before, but the 49ers were the second to last team in three wide receiver sets. The Saints were like 30% of the time, or more than 30% of the time, the most of their personnel packages, the majority of them were 3 wide receiver sets. The Saints were last in the NFL and by last I mean 0. Pete Carmichael ran 0 plays with 2 running backs in the backfield. The 49ers do it like 30% of the time. So those two things alone, you're talking about the last in the league, and now all of a sudden we're going to be a top 3 in the league of doing certain things. So it's just going to be very refreshing.
For him is going to be a breath of fresh air. It's going to be similar, to some of the things he's done in the past, but also different because he's controlled a lot of things at the line of scrimmage. And really, Clint's system, Kyle Shanahan, these guys, they like to kind of use smoke and mirrors. They use formations and personnel groupings to kind of create offense for your team. So it's been a kind of a nice change for him to where not every inch that they gain on offense is from his ability to see the graphics department errors right on the screen or to be able to decipher what the defensive structure is and get in the perfect defense. Maybe it's an error. He said it was an error. We can debate.
At a certain extent, the players have to the players have to play. But this offense is set up that just the way that the offense is presented is going to open up mismatches and open up opportunities for the offense. Whether it's, two plays that are different but look the same with the same kind of motion, and then they build off of each other and a positive thing happens because of what was seen previously of how the defense is reacting to motion. Like, all those things are happening just kind of passively with the offense, with just Kubiak and Janoka or whoever is making the things happen. So that does take an enormous amount of pressure off of the actual players.
That all night, but he's got an opportunity to change that with a good football team. They're in a tough division. They're a tough conference. It's going to be fun to watch them go through this season.
Yeah, I think David's made some great points there about Derek Carr. I spent some time with the Saints last season, and it felt like chemistry was a part of it last year. It just felt like it took more time than maybe you had hoped to get the flow of the offense right. And there's a new offensive coordinator in charge. As David mentioned, there's going to be a little bit more of a Derek Carr-centric on this offense that would make the quarterback more comfortable. And then,
look at these stats. Like, I know we keep hearing about how bad the Saints were last year on offense. I'm not saying they weren't. They were bad. But they were 9th in points per game. They were 14th in yards per game. 21st in rushing yards per game, which is crazy since they only had 8. They never went over 80 yards for a running back. And then 11th in passing yards per game. When I hear like the Saints are the 27th worst team or the Saints are the 30th worst team or the Saints are going to win 4 games, it's like these numbers aren't everything. They're very shallow stats, but do these look like the numbers of a team that's going to be bottom 4 or bottom 5 in the league?
You can get
and again, this is worst case scenario. This is a rock bottom season. Last year was rock bottom for the Saints. These are rock bottom numbers. These numbers were this performance was so bad internally that they had to fire the entire offensive staff.
Ball to Chris Olave and Alvin Kamara and all the playmakers there. I just think that this team needs chemistry early on in the season to be able to ride a little bit of that high.
Christ, Adam Prentice again. We've done multiple training camp videos. Every time Adam Prentice is on the screen, it's skies out, thighs out. It's not everyone is wearing these shorts. Like, look at this hombre. Oh, that's Blake Grupe. Look at Blake Grupe, normal size shorts. These 2.5-inch inseam. Insanity.
A little bit of that high wave, and they can compete. You mentioned this NFC South is wide open. You got Atlanta with Kirk Cousins, but beyond that, Tampa's won the division. They bring back Baker Mayfield, and
it's funny how it's like Atlanta's got Kirk Cousins, but beyond that, it's like, well, Tampa has won the division the last couple of years, and Atlanta hasn't won over 7 games in 4 years.
Carolina Panthers with Bryce Young, but there's no reason why Derek Carr and the Saints can't go on a run and win this division.
True
I
and
think
real.
It's anybody's to take.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's there's some really good points there as well, Cam. And you guys were talking on Back Together Weekend there, David, about Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed, and with Michael Thomas now out of the picture there in New Orleans. How much more are we going to see A.T. Perry, who was a guy who kind of started to come on as one of those big-bodied wide receivers down there? Is Derek pretty?
What's funny about A.T. Perry is that after last season. Everybody was just like, it's a given. A.T. Perry is ready to take that next step. A.T. Perry is about to pop off. A.T. Perry is about to be the next big thing. And I kept saying, maybe pump the brakes a little bit. And all of a sudden now, I've heard every single player is going to be the third wide receiver except A.T. Perry. It might end up being A.T. Perry. But I've heard Cedric Wilson. I've heard Marquez Callaway. I've heard all kind of people besides A.T. Perry. So it sounds like he's got a little ways to go in training camp, so hopefully he gets figured out and he can be a contributor.
Excited about what he might be able to bring to this group as well?
Derek's a big fan of A.T. Perry. Obviously saw him towards the end of the season kind of step in for Michael and made some big...
This is the number right here. Saints over under 7.5 wins in 2024. I'm going to be all over that over. I'll tell you that right now. I was all over the over of 9.5 wins last year. I got tricked. Tough loss, really painful. But this right here, we've talked about it. You saw the statistics. The Saints have gotten better in all of their bad areas, all their problem areas. Offensive line, bring in Talise Fuaga. Pass rush, bring in Chase Young. Like offensive play calling, bring in an entire new staff. Yes, the schedule is harder, but it's not crazy. It's very top heavy. So we'll do it right here. Carolina, boom, win. Tampa at home, win. Denver at home, win. Chargers, win. Carolina, win. Atlanta at home, win. Giants, win. Commanders, win. Raiders, win. That's just beat who you're supposed to beat, and that's 9 wins right there. That's splitting Tampa, splitting Atlanta, losing to Dallas, Philly, Kansas City, Cleveland, the Rams, and Green Bay. And that's 9 wins. How the hell do we not win 7.5 games? How in the hell do we win 7 games? I can already tell you right now, this will be the biggest bet of my life. I'm going to walk down to the new Caesar, beautiful new property down at the end of Canal Street at Caesars. I'm going to walk down there. I might play some Ultimate X video poker. Who knows what I'm going to do? I might get a drink at Emerald's Brasserie. I might get all over the place. Go to the new food hall. But I'm going to put the biggest bet of my life on over Saints 7.5 wins.
Big time plays. He's the perfect receiver for Derek as far as one of those guys that's an accessory to maybe a guy like Olave or Shaheed, where you can trust him to go up and make a play on a 50-50 ball. You can trust the ball down the field to him that it's going to come back in your possession or in the end zone. So AT's made a lot of nice plays. There's a lot of young players on this team that in this new look offense, you're going to find that obviously Shaheed's going to have some space to create, and it's going to be a lot of fun to watch that speed in this type of offense. And Olave's going to find his space. But there's going to be different opportunities for guys like Taysom Hill, who's now just officially playing tight end in that tight end fullback mode, and he's able to match up in the pass game and in the run game. So I think that's...
Yeah, I'm interested to see how they utilize Taysom. Now that Taysom seems to be more of a out-of-the-backfield runner and more of a tight end, and I'm sure he'll still get his quarterback powers and whatnot, but interesting to see a new wrinkle with Taysom. Taysom is... At first, he was Sean Payton's kind of project, and then it was like, okay, let's try and replicate what Peyton was doing, and then he became strictly pretty much a quarterback power kind of player. So I'm interested to see what wrinkles Kubiak brings with Taysom.
That's going to be the most fun, is just watching how all these components fit into this new system and how they can kind of push it forward. And to Cam's point, early in the season is going to be important. How fast can they start? Because really towards the end of the season, they were playing great football, and it wasn't an issue. But can they start early, running the football, being effective there, get the play action pass going, create some big play opportunities for their defense? We know they're going to be good and decent on third down in the red zone.
I got to get one of these shirts. I got to get an NFL Network shirt. But it's tough, though, because our schedule's so hard at the front end. I mean, if you look at it, pull it back up here. If we come out of... Where the hell was the schedule? I mean, if we come out of this with 2 wins in our first 5 games, I'm going to be ecstatic. I'm talking about Carolina, win. But then Dallas, Philly, on the road against Atlanta, Kansas City on Monday Night Football. That is a brutal 5 games. To play your division rival Atlanta, and then on the road, and then you get to turn around and play the Super Bowl champions on prime time on the road back-to-back weeks. That is a troublesome spot. People don't think about that, where it's like, we can beat Kansas City. We can beat Philly. Yeah, we can, but the focus is going to be on this game right here. The focus is going to be on Atlanta. The focus will not be on Kansas City. The focus will not be on Philly. I will gladly lose Philly and KC if it means beating Atlanta. What I do not like, I would trade losing Philly, losing KC, win Atlanta. I would trade 1 and 2 versus beat Kansas City, lose to Philly, and lose to Atlanta. I don't care about saying we beat Kansas City. I don't care about that game being in prime time. You want to win this divisional game, especially on the road. So if we come out of this if we beat Carolina and beat Atlanta in our first 5, oh my God, I'll be the happiest person on earth, because we aren't giving us this game. I've been saying this is a loss because it's on the road against Atlanta. We split them, so I just give us the home and lose the away, even though it might flip or whatever. But because if we beat Atlanta here, that's an extra win. That's a free win I have not been given us. So that's how you get to 10 wins. That's how you get to 11 wins, because then you could possibly sweep them, beating them at home in Week 10. Those are the games I'm talking about. We beat Carolina. If we beat Carolina and beat Dallas, Dallas is a win I am not giving us. That's how you get to 10 wins or 11 wins. let's just talk crazy. Say you beat Carolina. Let's say you beat Dallas or Philly, lose the other one, and beat Atlanta. And you are 3-1. Or let's say you're 3-2 coming out of the KC game. You're 3-2 with 2 games in the division. That is how you get to 11 wins. That's how you boost it up.
Will figure out a way to maneuver some things through there as veteran quarterbacks do, but it's really that first and second down winning in those situations. A lot of that's on the offensive coordinator, but this new look system is promising so far.
Yeah.
All right, Dave. Appreciate that, man. A lot of good insight there on what this new look New Orleans Saints.
Good stuff. Yeah. Hey, David, maybe relax on the grip of the microphone, my guy. But yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, I think over 7.5 wins is guaranteed. I really do. And I'm going to put my money where my mouth is, 100%. But yeah, good stuff. Good stuff from David. I agree with what they're saying. No doubt about it. Let me know in the comments below what you think. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next video.